Good morning, welcome to breakfast this morning with Steph McGovern and Dan Walker.
Our headlines today. Scotland's growing drugs crisis. New figures expect to show that more than 1,000 people died as a result last year. Politicians describe it as an emergency.
Fighting back, the 4 Democratic congresswomen attacked by President Trump dismiss his comments as a racist distraction.
Weak minds and leaders challenge loyalty to our country in order to avoid challenging and debating the policy.
And Facebook takes aim at fake adverts with a new tool to report scammers.
The man in charge of fixing Britain's railways said it should be independent of government and should have more input from city authorities. I'll be finding out what it means for passengers.
Celebrations are still continuing for England cricketers with a trip to Downing Street last night following their dramatic World Cup win.
And it's a dry and pleasantly warm day across much of the UK once again today. 1 or 2 showers here and there. Will they be coming your way? I'll tell you with a full forecast here on Breakfast.
Good morning, thanks for joining us. It's Tuesday the 16th of July.
It doesn't really matter. Either way, it's something that does need to be addressed. Extending the lease will undoubtedly add to your costs, but it could potentially prevent the value of the flat dropping even further than the current guide of £70,000 plus.
And coming up on BBC News, a record-breaking men's final at Wimbledon where Novak Djokovic beat Roger Federer in just under 5 hours, taking his 16th Grand Slam title.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1.
Welcome to BBC London News. I'm Tolu Adeoye. There's a clear link between poverty and youth violence in London.
Across the villages and towns of Leicestershire and neighbouring Northamptonshire. I'm meeting up with them to pin down the details.
Well, Sarah and James, I have to say, welcome to the East Midlands.
Thank you.
And why is the time right for you both to make this, well, very important move?
You. Ooh. Ooh.
I think I'll go for Bobby Moore for the England won the World Cup.
Bobby Moore, says Julie. Let's find out if that's right. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Bobby Moore.
Oh.
Bad luck.
Sorry.
Bad luck, Julie. I'm afraid not Bobby Moore. That's good.
Today at 6, the number of drug-related deaths in Scotland hits a record. More than 1,000 last year. That's tripled the death rate for the rest of the UK and the highest in Europe. Behind the numbers, lives ruined.
I was in ICU. They got my family up to say that I was going to die.
The Scottish Government calls for a reform of UK drugs policy. Also tonight, the off-duty officers who tried to take on the London Bridge attackers. An inquest ruled that the killers were lawfully shot dead. Trump and America's racism row. The president escalates his Twitter attack on these 4 politicians, and they hit back. We continue the story of Safa and Marwa, born conjoined and now learning to live apart.
It's a very emotional moment. We've been working a long time to get them here. They've been through so many operations, and now, you know, it's worked.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all engines running.
50 years on from the start of the Apollo mission to the moon, a milestone in space exploration.
And coming up on BBC News, can Rory McIlroy make home advantage count as the Open returns to Royal Portrush for the first time in 68 years?
Good evening and welcome to the BBC's News at 6. The latest figures reveal the shocking nature of drug abuse in Scotland.
To life, we talk to the stars behind Disney's latest live action animation. Welcome to BBC London. I'm Victoria Hollins. First tonight, fears that a toxic landfill site on the banks of the Thames estuary...
Very glamorous feel, because you're zipping around the south of France. Did it feel like you were in a proper full-on Bond movie?
We shot bits of it in the same location.
Yes, and yes, on the Corniches in the south of France. We were there for only a few days. You know, it would have been nice to have been there for a few weeks, but we weren't. So yes, we were, well, we were certainly in that world. Yes, in his traditional locational world.
7 years since the first one. What has Johnny English been up to in that time?
Yeah, well, you're lucky I'm burning them! Just get out!
Stacey?
Move. No, not trying to get my money. That is all you care about, isn't it?
Play with India on top against New Zealand in their Cricket World Cup semi-final at Old Trafford. Play will resume tomorrow.
Good evening. The two men vying to be Britain's next Prime Minister, Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt.
I moved back in with my parents about a year ago because I got out of our relationship. You don't really move back in with your parents for a good reason, do you?
It's like, oh, I've got a promotion at work, so I thought Mummy and Daddy could do with some company.
It's usually either emotional issues or financial issues.
Does that sound all right?
Sounds delicious.
You're quite into your food, aren't you?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I'm an atrocious cook.
That doesn't matter. That's why we're
I'm very good at eating it, not very good at cooking it.
That's fair enough. Sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah.
So look, let's talk about Jubilee Road. This is your third studio album.
And now I am joined live in the studio by the Prime Minister, Theresa May. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning, Andrew.
Can we agree, to start with, that the one thing that voters deserve in what you yourself have said is going to be a very, very important election is no sound bites?
Well, it is absolutely crucial, because this is, I think, the most important election.
Form of cladding to be put on buildings. So not unreasonably...
It's kind of hiding behind the legal niceties, isn't it?
Except if they accorded with the building regulations and this was signed off by local authorities, then it's not unreasonable for them to say, well, you've changed the regulations, you've got to fund the changes, and I think that's reasonable.
There's a lot of soft parenting out there, and I can see that they've taken this stance and that they don't want to roll back on it, because we all remember being teenagers. I actually used to use the phrase, but it's my religion, you know, for anything that I wanted to do.
Really?
I said it.
Use that excuse. You've used that excuse.
Yeah, I've used that excuse personally. In the last week, I've used that excuse.
Would you get 18-year-olds coming in with a beard saying it's my religion, I want to keep...